Hey, what's up, and welcome back to Fiverr Talks, everybody. My name is Joel, and today I've got your questions sitting in front of me. I'm digging through a pile of your questions after some time off. We're going to talk about single milestone reviews. We're going to talk about canceled orders and unhappy buyers. We're going to talk about Fiverr Pro sellers and whether or not they're trustworthy. All these things and more in today's video. I know, you've been hollering at me on social saying where you been, what you doing, where are the videos. I get it. Took a little time off. Went to some warmer weather for a while and just really took some time off to relax and recharge. I hope I look refreshed. I hope you like the new look. How about the new color? Purple. I thought it was a good contrast to what I got going on here. Let me know what you think of the new look, the new setup. I got several new looks here in the studio so I can keep it fresh for you, but let me know how you like things. If you haven't been asking questions in the comments section, then you have been missing out, because this channel is where you can benefit from all the mistakes that I've made over the years as a freelancer, as a top-rated Fiverr seller, as someone who's built a business that started out in the corner of my bedroom as a side hustle and now grew into a real actual company with 6 team members and lots of cool fun stuff. I try to give my anecdotes and insights from those years of experience to you in these videos. And the way that you gain that insight is by asking questions in the comments section. You run this channel. So ask your questions down below about Fiverr or freelancing. Here are some of the ones that I had at the top of the list for when I got back. The first question is from Manure. She asks, can a buyer leave a review on a single milestone? Now, if you're unfamiliar with milestone deliveries, this is an option that Fiverr has tried to roll out over the years, I would say with marginal success. If you've watched my video about milestones, you know that I don't use milestones, even though I have a multi-tiered process as a seller. It doesn't work as well. It's a little bit more complicated. And so I think that it's not something that benefits every single buyer. It might benefit specific buyers with very process-oriented deliveries where you need approval at each stage in the process. So that being said, she asks, can you leave a review on a single milestone? I believe the answer is yes, because if a single milestone is the end of the road, then the buyer has the ability to leave a review on that. So let's say, for instance, the first milestone is kind of, in my process, it's writing a script. If they are not pleased with the first milestone, they can just say, we're done with the process, we're kind of walking away. And at that point, the same rules would apply as a regular gig on Fiverr. It's going to auto-complete in 3 days. They can leave a review within 10 days. But then as they continue on in the process, they're only going to be allowed to leave one review. So they're not allowed to leave a review for each stage, each milestone in the larger project, but they do get to leave one review for each project, and that's whether they complete every milestone or they drop out after the first or second milestone, any prior to the final step. So yes, they would be able to leave a review if they only go through the first milestone and are not happy. They could leave a review giving that opinion to the world. So it's a good question and not something that everybody's going to encounter, but hopefully that is helpful to you, Manure. Dinah, good old Dinah, faithful viewer, asks this question. I canceled an order because a buyer wasn't happy with the result and they kept asking for revisions and they wanted to cancel. So I accepted it because I didn't want a bad review. Not a bad approach. Then she says, I haven't had an order since, and my gigs are not in the same place they were. Will my gigs recover? I don't even get messages now. This is a very common thing for us to mentally do. We mentally connect a bad experience with a buyer, that maybe a gig that went awry, no fault of our own or our own fault. We say, gosh, now I've dropped in the search results. This may be the cause for your repositioning. Yes, why? Because cancellations hurt your standing. Cancellations hurt your place within the Fiverr ecosystem. And more than just cancellations, but private, this is something I'm hearing from Fiverr a lot, is private reviews affect your place in the carousel. So when people say, gosh, I just can't Can't tell why I'm dropped down over here. All my reviews are good. Recently I've seen some traffic changes and I've been asking my success representative, hey, what's going on? And the only answers they give, which leads me to believe these are the only things affecting it, are it's your reviews, order completed, and private feedback. So even though you canceled it, so you didn't get negative public feedback, that buyer could have still been asked by Fiverr for private feedback and provided private feedback about their experience in a negative light. So while you avoided a negative public review, you might not have avoided a negative private review. And we don't know whether Fiverr's holding those private ones to be more important than the public, if they're equal, if they're less important. I tend to think if someone's asking for private anonymous feedback that the seller's not going to see, they're probably holding that with more weight because they believe it's more candid. I don't know that to be a case. That's my gut thought, is that they're doing that. But we don't have any really way to tell. But Dinah, I would say that this could be the culprit here, that you've gotten shuffled. Maybe you've dropped a little bit because the cancellation is not good for you. That took your rate down. Your cancellation rate affected your stats, but also they possibly left negative private reviews on this gig and this experience, which could be hurting you. So just know there's a lot more that affects your standing in the rankings, in the SEO than just public reviews. So thanks for your question. Give it some time. Keep working hard. I think you can cycle back up. A cancellation is not the end of the world. Trust me. Alexa000 says, is a Fiverr Pro seller trustworthy? Well, that's a loaded question. I mean, is any seller on Fiverr trustworthy? The answer is they're only as trustworthy as their reviews and their work, right? Now, the reason I think that Alexa is asking this question is because when you go to the Fiverr Pro section, if you've never wandered over there, wander over there and check this out for yourself. When you go to the Fiverr Pro section, which is a much higher end version of Fiverr, higher prices. They've shopped agencies and gotten agencies to come in and be a part of Fiverr. There are two things you'll see over there. There are much fewer sales and reviews on the Fiverr Pro section. Partly because it's not been around for 10, 12 years, 15 years like regular Fiverr, so there hasn't been time to build those reviews, but also because Fiverr Pro sellers do far fewer gigs at a higher price, less quantity, higher quality, higher price. And so this might call into question their trustworthiness, their reliability. This is one thing that I don't have any experience with personally. I've never purchased from somebody in the Fiverr Pro section, even though I've purchased from a lot of freelancers on Fiverr. But I think that this is something that you could do outside of Fiverr, research you could do outside of Fiverr as well, because most of these people are agencies. At least I see that in the video and graphics world. They're agencies, and maybe they're agency names in Fiverr. Maybe you could go and look them up. Look at their Google reviews. Look at their Facebook reviews. Where else do they have feedback on the web that you can look at, even though they might have 5 or 10 reviews on Fiverr Pro on the platform? Look up the company name. See what their reputation is outside of Fiverr. That might give you a clue into how they're going to be on Fiverr. And again, you really just have to look at their work, look at what people are saying, look at their response times, all those kinds of things. Look at their cancellation rate to tell you whether or not they're trustworthy. And in the end, I've even worked with freelancers that had good ratings but were horrible to work with, unresponsive, delivered poor quality work, and gave up when we asked for revisions, things like that. So I hate to say it's hit and miss because I don't believe it is always hit and miss, but there's always a chance that even someone who projects well on Fiverr could be less than trustworthy, or you get a less than perfect result. But that's the risk you take when you hire freelancers or agencies of any kind. That is just the world we live in. But that's a good question and a good thought. Ahmed asks this question. He says, "Hey Joel, love your videos." Well, thanks for watching, Ahmed. They're really helping me a lot on the platform. I have a question about a buyer who ordered my services but didn't fill out the requirements and the order isn't started yet. Now, this is what we call an incomplete order. If you look in your seller dashboard, if you have one of these, it's going to show as incomplete. They have not filled out the requirements, and therefore Fiverr hasn't started the order unless you sent them a custom offer and checked the box that says skip requirements. So that's what Ahmed is referring to. Someone purchased from him, but they haven't left him any details. They haven't given him the requirements for him to fulfill their order. So that's what's going on. He says it's been a month, but they're offline and they haven't responded to my messages. Why? What should I do in this situation? I have 4 orders left pending for instructions for over a month now. So he's got 4 incomplete orders. They're all incomplete for more than a month. People are offline. Ahmed, let me just tell you, I have incomplete orders in my account that are almost a decade old. People that ordered from me 7, 8 years ago and have never filled out the requirements. What do? Well, the answer is you can't do anything. Without requirements, you can't fulfill that gig. You don't want to start that clock because you can't do anything on the backside. You can't fulfill that order. Now, Fiverr actually has a function now, which is only a couple years old. It was not around in the beginning, where you can start the order without requirements. Meaning you can say, oh, I had a conversation in the inbox with this person. I have the information. They just haven't responded on the gig page yet. So I can click, I have what I need, start the order, and go from there. But I wouldn't recommend that if you haven't had a previous conversation or don't know what's going on. That's going to leave you in the lurch for delivering on a clock where you don't have the information to complete the gig. So what can you do? You just have to sit there and let it float. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, Fiverr went through and cleared out all those incomplete orders. I think they have a timeline now where, so actually I misspoke. Those orders are not still sitting in my account. Fiverr cleaned them out. I forgot about that. And I think they have a rule now where if something sits incomplete for so long, they just clean it out. It's not even in your queue anymore. So the best thing you can do in this situation, the only thing you can do, is send a message on that order page saying, hey, are you going to complete your requirements? Tell me what I can do for you. Do you need any help? Because that's what you need, is them to respond on that page. So even though it's not an active gig page yet, you can still leave them a message there. They'll get a notification and it could spur a response from them to you on that page to get you the requirements you need. That's all you can do. I used to send those maybe once or twice a week to unresponsive people. That's not a bad tactic, but you don't want to be a nag, and you don't want to anger people by pestering them before they're ready. But it is kind of annoying that someone would order and not send any response to you or give you any details, because ultimately they've already paid. Fiverr's got their money. They're holding it, but you can't do anything until they respond. Hopefully that helps you, Ahmed. Dating skills. I like that username. Asks, is it possible to adjust the budget of an existing order? If yes, how do I do it? The answer to this question is yes and no. Okay, so the no is you cannot change the amount of an existing order downward. Meaning, let's just use round numbers. Someone orders a $100 gig off of you and then finds out, this should have only cost $50. You cannot refund them $50 and keep $50 in the queue. In that case, you're better just to pretend that it cost $100 and complete the work. They placed the incorrect order. Just do what they asked you to do and keep your mouth shut. You cannot adjust things down. But in my experience, very rarely is anybody going to over order, unless they're trying to do it on purpose, just to maybe get a little bit of preference from you, which that's okay by me. If somebody says, I want to pay you more than your rate for a little special attention, we can do that. But you cannot adjust an order total downward. You can add to an order. So let's say someone places a $100 order and they should have placed a $150 order for your services. Then you can send them an add-on order on that order page, on the gig page, and it'll add that total to their purchase there at the top. So that's something that I do all the time. Maybe somebody forgot to put on a license or a fee, or they calculated their rate wrong, or whatever it is, they purchased the wrong thing. You can always adjust the budget of an existing order up. Now, here's a workaround. If someone truly did place, let's say, that $100 order, they realized that they said, I placed it for too much. I realized it should be $50. How do I fix this? The only way to fix it is to cancel their current order and have them place a new order, in which case you'd probably send them a custom offer in the inbox for that $50 and say, place this order and then we'll cancel this order over here. Most buyers are going to want you to cancel the order first so they can use that Fiverr credit to purchase their new gig, because when you send them that cancellation, they get a refund as a Fiverr balance refund. It doesn't go back to their payment method, so they want to reuse those funds. But that's really the only way to adjust the total of an existing project, is to cancel the existing order, place an order for the correct amount if it's lower. This is something I would love to see Fiverr. And Fiverr, if you're listening, if you're watching 14 minutes deep on this video, you need to hear me say this is something Fiverr needs to change. I've mentioned it several times, but I believe they need to have an adjustable credit balance, kind of thing on, because it's easy to add to, it's not easy to take away, and it puts sellers in an awkward spot when people place incorrect orders, which I realize for some gigs happens a lot. On my voiceover gigs, happens a lot. On my video gigs, almost never happens. And so I think it depends on your niche. If you do something with a rate, like writing copy, or, it's so much per word or something like that, easy for people to do wrong. So Fiverr, if you're listening, this would be a great feature. Allow sellers to adjust the budget down, give the buyer back a credit, get them to the proper total without a cancellation, because it is not the seller's fault, right? Okay, well, there's a lot more questions in the comments. I'm going to save those for another video at another time. Today's video, I think is complete. That is a great one to end on. Thank you so much for coming back and joining me. It is such a thrill to be back here with you in the studio, recording some videos, swapping comments and stories. I'm going to start going through these comments, the backlog that haven't been responded to over the last couple weeks, and I'll get to them. In the meantime, if you have a question about Fiverr or freelancing in general, leave it for me in the comments down below, and I will see you next week. But until next time, keep doing, because the future favors the doers.